Welcome, welcome. Jamie Hernandez here, founder of Breakthrough Yoga Coaching Method, helping you bridge a gap between your spiritual practice and your business so that you can grow emotionally and financially. So if you are here live, hashtag live, and it takes a couple of minutes, I think 10 for kind of Facebook to show me the comments, sometimes longer. So if you write longer sentences, sometimes that helps. And if you're here for the replay, hashtag replay, and I promise answer the questions because it's going to start your journey to where you want to go, right? So if you are here for the replay, hashtag replay, and I promise I'm going to answer all your questions when I get them. And just tag me, so just in case this is like you're watching this months from now, I can answer your questions. So today's training, why your spiritual practice is the foundation of your business. Why your spiritual practice is the foundation of your business. So my first question to you, and write me in the comments, if you want to up-level your business, right? If you want your expansion in your business, if you want growth in your business, what is the very first step? Write me in the comments, tell me what you think. What is the very first step for creating growth, for expanding to the next level in your business, okay? Write me in the comments. I want to hear what you have to say. So let me give you a hint while you write your comment. Let me give you a hint, okay? I'm going to read a quote from Carl Jung. Okay. Somewhere right at the bottom of one's own being, one generally does know where one should go and what one should do, but there are times, this is the funny part, when the clown we call I behaves in such a distracting fashion that the inner voice cannot make its presence felt, okay? So let me just read it again. Somewhere right at the bottom of one's own being, one generally knows where one should go and what one should do, but there are times when the clown called I behaves in such a distracting fashion that the inner voice cannot make its presence felt. So let me know your answer. I wonder if that has kind of gave you a little hint. But basically, number one is clarity. Step number one, if you're going to up-level your business, is clarity, right? And so why am I talking about having your spiritual practice be your foundation? Because what does your spiritual practice offer you? It offers you clarity. It offers you your truth. It offers you your North Star. And that's always who we want to be leading the show. That's where we're constantly moving towards. That's the thing that we've always known, okay? I'm going to read another thing, okay? I'm a little bit into the quotes today, but just bear with me. Carl Jung uses the term vocation to describe a sense of destiny, a sense of purpose, and he describes vocation as being addressed by anyone with a vocation, and the voice of the inner man addressed the voice of the inner man, and he is called, okay? So basically, we have this inner voice, right? And if we are not clear, and if we're not steeped in our spiritual practice, then it will be muffled. So that's kind of what I was trying to say in other people's words of what I've always been telling you guys, right? So a vocation is basically a strong feeling of suitability for a particular career or occupation, right? So we all have what I call intuition, something that we've remembered, Let me know in the comments if you're like, I've always seen myself. I've always felt that. I was always good at, I always loved fill in the blank. right? What is that? What is that thing that you've always seen in your mind, the thing that you've always felt, the thing that you've always known, the thing that you've always been drawn to? That is your intuition, something that you've remembered and that continues to call you, continues to beckon you, continues, your inner voice continues to speak, right? And then intuition is not just remembering your past, but it's also remembering your future differently. So when that inner voice starts to speak, it's our ability to start to see the potential, because it's a potential. If we're remembering our future differently, it is not something that we know. So it's a future potential, our highest potential, right? And so if we want to allow ourselves to kind of walk towards that, then in all, I would say, balanced spiritual practice, there are three components. One is the body. We live in a physical body. We cannot, function or do anything if we don't utilize our body. Yeah. So, our body sometimes can be on fight, flight, or freeze. I think you guys heard of this before. And it's very difficult to navigate the world from those places, because it will definitely not be from a place of clarity. It will be from a place of survival. Now, here's the thing. This is why it's important to have a spiritual practice, because your spiritual practice, whatever that means for you, okay? It could be boxing. It could be praying. It could be, I don't know what. There is basically, in symbol terms, it is a way to bridge yourself from your survival needs to your soul needs. So whatever that is for you, let me know in the comments what it is for you, okay? It doesn't matter what it is, okay? There are many ways to get in spirit. There are many ways to bridge yourself from here in the mundane, here in the everyday, here in the problem-solving reality, to that place where, oh my God, what if? That creativity, that imagination, that place of like, wow, I would love if I could experience that, right? And the reason why it's important is because if we stay and we move from the survival, which will get us, it will get us surviving, right? It will get us what we need at our basic instinct, but it won't necessarily get us to the thing that we want, right? And the question is, who am I? The ultimate question of human beings. And what do I value and what do I want? And again, when you go back to Carl Jung's quote, the clown that I call I behaves in such a distracting way that the presence of that cannot be felt. So this is why it's so important to have your spiritual practice, to be able to bridge yourself from survival to soul. Okay, so now we kind of understand the concept, and you're like, okay, well, that's great, Jamie. Well, how the heck do I do that, right? Okay, so number one, your spiritual practice needs to have some kind of physicality. We must be in the body. That's week number one for our program. Get grounded in the body, because it's wonderful to have like this great imagination, but if you are overwhelmed, or if you are overworked, if your nervous system is too worked, or it's either overwhelmed or just like, I can't do anything, or it's like, I am so nervous that I can't. It's very hard to actually take action from there, from a place of clarity. Number two, your spiritual practice needs some way of clearing your mind, okay? So when we clear our mind, and that's week number 2 for us in our program, Breakthrough Yoga Coaching Method, is the ability to clear the mind, because that is the channel, right? First, we must descend. We must be here on earth and to ascend. And ascend is, okay, to be able to hear, to remember my future differently, to hear what the soul is constantly beckoning us. It's constantly like, go there, go right, go travel. Like, I got, my battery is almost dying. That's crazy. Okay, so So that usually doesn't happen. Okay, so I'm getting distracted. I don't want us to die on here, but to, you know what? Let me go get my battery. Okay, and yeah, look, you get to see my socks. Oh my God. Okay, we're gonna plug in here, guys, because I do not want to lose. And then all of a sudden it's becoming dark. That's so weird. I usually charge everything beforehand. So now we're gonna have to change this to be closer. Okay. Bear with me while I do my technical adjustments here, because I don't want us to lose power, which is weird because I always charge this phone before we go on. Look, I gotta find the plug. Oh my goodness. All right, so while I'm adjusting, please write in the comments what spirituality means for you. And what does that look like for you? So what's the thing that gets you in the body? Okay, so that's kind of step number one. What's the thing for you that you enjoy that gets you in your physical body? Okay. Step number two, when do you feel most clarity? When do you feel most clear? After doing what? Okay, that's step number two. Okay, there you go. Hopefully this is going to work. Okay. All right. Huh. Okay. So hopefully, okay, now it's dark again. I don't know how to make it light, but we'll just keep it like this. All right. Let me get my notes. Okay. So, sorry about that, guys. That never really happens. But, all right. So let me know in the comments what it is that gets your mind clear, because that is how we gain clarity, right? It comes through, right, the channel of our mind. The body must be here to be able to kind of be in a state of relaxation and a state of being here so that it can receive information. But the way that information is received, it's received through the ethers. It's received through the mind. And the mind will have these ideas, right? And it'll be like, whoo, and you'll hear them if the body is regulated enough and the nervous system is regulated enough to be able to receive that information. Yeah? So it's like, you know, if you're nervous and somebody's like, hey, trying to tell you something, most likely you're going to be like, it's too much information. I don't know what you're talking about. But if you're relaxed and somebody says something to you, most likely you're going to be able to receive it. And so here's where your intuition and your truth comes in. It comes in through the mind, the clarity of the mind. Now, the third component is energy, right? And energy must go through, is always going to move through a channel. And to be able to utilize that energy in a way that starts to literally put it into your North Star, literally put it into the place that you are remembering differently, that place of your intuition, the North Star, yeah? And so energy, and I talk about this a lot in our program, I call it the Energy Leverage Week, is always available. Viable energy is always available. But we must learn how to master that energy. Otherwise, it becomes sort of like this self-imploding thing. So it's sort of like, you know, whenever you've been anxious or over-worried or doubtful, and you get consumed by that thought that is not clear, that is coming from survival, and consumed by that thought that you literally can't function. You're just sitting on the couch thinking, and all of a sudden you're exhausted. Yeah. So it's kind of like a misuse of the unclarity of the mind and a misuse of putting the energy where you want it to be. Okay. Now let me resituate myself because I'm holding up my notes, and I usually put it on a little thingy. All right. Okay, so let me come back. Okay. So I want to read to you another quote. Okay. If you guys know Carolyn Myss is Carolyn with M-Y-S-S. She wrote many books, but she wrote a book called Sacred Contracts. And here's what she says about energy and kind of related to what I'm talking about. An individual and the divine commit to omission, promises to expand the individual's spiritual consciousness, as well as further the expression of the divine on earth. That's the soul I'm talking about, right? And that's the body. We live in a body, so that's the earth. She contracts the divine and guarantees all material and energy that are essential to the completion of your task here on earth, right? Which may include necessary capital, a guide into the soul's soul relationships, developing illness from one, right? So when we are leveraging our energy in what I call our zone of genius, when we're putting it into the thing that we absolutely love, and I talk about this a lot, then we're doing what Carolyn Myss is talking about here. And the byproduct is that we are going to receive the relationships that we need, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're always good. We're going to receive the capital, so the finances, and we're going to receive what else did she say? Or it might even come in an illness. So let me give you an example. I had a client who came to me, and she was literally dying of cancer. And she said, okay, it's literally now or never, right? It's now or never. So she came to me with no money, okay? And she wanted to do the program. And she decided, right, from that listening of her divine soul contract, she decided she's going to finally do this. She's had this business idea in her mind for the last 10 years. She wanted to work with people who are suffering from addiction, right? And for the last 10 years, she wanted to create a healing center. And so all of a sudden, this happened in her life where she get this illness. And she said, well, this is it. This is it. Either I do this now or I don't do it, right? And Carolyn Myss says, you receive even financial compensation. Guess what? In 2 days, she raised the funds. And it's not necessarily a small investment to work with me, right? I charge a premium. And so 2 days, she raised the funds. And so that's when we continue to bridge ourselves from survival to the soul, and we start to put action and put our trust in the soul's calling, you will be given what you need. Now, that sounds all airy-fairy, but the only thing that you need to understand about this is when we have a grounded body and when we have a clear mind, we have also the ability to observe. In your life, and I talk about this a lot, we have personal experiences. Okay, so just like my client Kate, this was a very personal experience. She had many experiences as to why she wanted to open up this healing center for people who are suffering from addiction, right? She had professional experience, so she had many different backgrounds. So you have professional experience. You probably have experience in many different, maybe accounting and in finance, in dance, in energy work, in sales, in coaching. Like there are many professional experiences that you have, and you have experiences with your clients. And this is what, universe will constantly send you people, like relationships. This is what she was talking about. People who are mirroring what it is your soul is beckoning you, right? So, I teach like yoga class, right? And I teach yoga and meditation in just regular old places like the YMCA, the general public. But guess who always comes to me after class? People who are suffering from anxiety and people who want to understand how to make their calling an actual viable, profitable business. Okay? So for the longest time, and listen, for the longest time, I've always just done the spiritual thing where I've taught yoga, I've taught the meditation, I've taught the breathing, taught you about the body, mind, and energy. I've given teacher trainings, I've done workshops, I've done, just like one-on-one private yoga therapy. But people would always ask me, okay, Jamie, like, how do I make this work? You seem to be making something work, so how the fuck do I do this, right? So here's the calling, right? The calling was like, okay, Jamie, like there is a need in your community where people, yes, we as, spiritual entrepreneurs, as healers, as coaches, as creative, yes, we will always have our spiritual practice. But there is an element of, the masculine and the feminine. There's a beer, which is beautiful. You want to be able to be in your experience. But then there's a doer, right? And so we kind of have to have both elements, right? And that's the kind of, and this is what I teach all our clients, is to be able to distill your triangle of three, your professional experience, your personal experience, and your client experience, so that you can position yourself and understand your own expertise, right? And so, there's always going to be this kind of part of your beckoning. There's going to be part of your calling that is going to be like, what do that? What do you mean? There's always going to be that part, right? And here's the truth when it comes to spirituality and comes to business. We don't live in a bubble. We live with other human beings. And one of my core values is business is human. And we don't heal alone. And so we all act, everything that we were talking about, relationships, illness, clients, all of these things, act as mirrors and reflection as to what it is that is happening in our life and what it is we need. So you're going to come into relationships that say, hey, right? You have this expertise, but I also have this expertise, and we're both, playing in our zone of genius, the thing that you love, right? The thing that you're in the flow, and in business, the thing that makes you money, right? And so there has to be an element of understanding how to process, and that's week number 2, process the emotion that comes along with, oh my God, I'm going to go that way. Oh my God, that thing that's scary, along with that business strategy that you're going to implement, right? So in a premium program and a high touch program, a good coach will address both. Because here's the thing, most of clients that come to me are empathetic. They're sensitive. That's why they're in work that helps other people. If they're in work where I have this thing that I know about and I want to teach you, right? Okay, let me know in the comments if that's you. And again, I can't see the comments, but I will come back. They're in something where it's like, I have this thing and I know about it, right? And I get excited about it and I'm in the flow and I'm in it. And I also want other people to know about this, right? Because it's not as hard as they think. That's the thing. Our spiritual practice to us seems like basic, like, right? If I were to do a downward facing dog, it's like, that's basic to me. But for someone else, this is like, I'm not sure, right? And especially for people who are taking their transformation, right? All their healing work, all of their coaching, all of, their life altering transformation to the world. The gap for them is like, okay, well, how do I actually make it work? How do I make it so that this nourishes my soul, that's where the clarity comes from, because you can't just be going towards the money and then doing something you hate. Okay, so that's why the zone of genius piece is important. But also nourishes my bank account. Yeah, so that's kind of like what's been called for me. So let me give you a little bit more examples. Okay, so I had a client, and so one of the things that we have to understand is that we are going to notice throughout our spiritual practice the things that in us that we need to evolve, we need to transform, we need to look at, right? And here's the misdiagnosis, especially when you do a lot of professional, personal growth work or healing work. The misdiagnosis is that, okay, if I feel doubt, if I feel overwhelmed, if I feel imposter syndrome, I haven't done enough healing. So I'm going to just go back into what I call this healing loop. So this is what a lot of people do in our community. They just keep on going back to thinking, because they think they're broken, to fix themselves. Like, okay, let me just do more healing, then I will finally be ready. Let me do more training, and then I will be finally ready. Let me do more business or marketing and sales training, and then I will finally be ready. Let me get another credential and certification. I'm not saying not to do any of these things, right? But if you're doing that and not taking action in your business, and for me that would be, well, what would be your next profitable action? Most profitable action, okay? That's the strategy that I would direct you to, okay? Because you can do many, and that's the thing. Here's the other kind of thing that we get caught in that healing loop, but then we also get caught in the strategy loop where it's like, ooh, okay, I want to start posting myself online. And so let me just figure out there's this TikTok thing. Okay, so let me dance and do these things that people are talking about. Oh, there's this, Twitch, or there's this Instagram. Oh, I have to look pretty and, and they start implementing strategy without the clarity, right? Without aligning with the truth of who they are, what they want, and what they value, right? So it's important, right, to have that aspect of your spiritual practice that brings you towards that clarity. And so then that you can move your next obvious action. Because here's the thing, oh, hello, Lola Joy. Okay. Here's the thing. When we are moving towards our business, there could be a lot of strategies. There could be a lot of spiritual strategies, and there can be a lot of business strategies. But we want to choose the one that's going to be the one that is the lever that either eliminates the rest or makes it not as big, that affects all the other strategies, right? And so as your coach, that's what I would teach you. Because think about it. Think about your own expertise, right? When people kind of come to you, they have this general idea, right? Of oh, okay, you know about such and such. You know about finances. Oh, okay. So then that means I need a mutual fund, or that, they have this general idea. And you're like, whoa. You had enough personal, client, and professional experience to say, wait a minute. Okay, before we get into that, in our case, before we get into the branding, before we get into this, what's step number one, right? And for you, it is also gaining clarity. So you have some form of who are you? What do you want, right? What are your values? That's what you ask your clients. Do you see? So here's the formula. The formula is the same for everybody. Yeah? Okay? Your spiritual practice has an element of body, mind, and spirit. It has an element of this, and that body, mind, and spirit starts to help you discover, who am I? What do I want, right? And what do I value? Yeah. So just think about that. Think about that for yourself, because guess what? When you get clear with that and you start leading with that in your marketing, guess who is going to come? Your, what I call your dreamiest clients. Okay, because if we just go based on the strategy, no clarity at all, and all of a sudden we're like doing the Instagram, like, you know, I see a lot of people, and this is not a judgment, a lot of people on Instagram and they're yogis and they're doing all these postures, and that's great. And that's wonderful and that's beautiful, right? But if I'm just doing it based on something I see externally that's kind of trending and popular, and I'm not going from that place of who am I, what do I value, and what do I want, right? Then I'm just kind of randomly throwing kind of spaghetti on out there, right? And I may attract people, and they might like, oh, are you going to teach me how to do a handstand? Like, right? And that's great, but that's not necessarily what I want, right? My values are business as human. Communication is key. Intention and attention. Alignment equals energy and money. And go deep, not wide. Okay? So when you start to position yourself in your marketing based on those things, then you're going to magnetize, and this is the second part of the program, you're going to magnetize your dreamiest clients. You're going to magnetize people who are in alignment with you. And guess what that creates? Longevity, right? What is the most leveraged thing you can do in your business? Be you, right? Because, you know, coming online every day or whatever it is, it's work, it's action, right? And if you're taking an action that is maybe also, here's another thing, in your zone of excellence, okay, that kind of looks like what you want to do and what you want and what you value. But guess what? The difference between your zone of genius and your zone of excellence is your zone of excellence drains you. Okay? Your zone of excellence drains you. Yeah. Your zone of genius, you can do it all day long. You can be in the flow. Of course, you're going to need to take naps. And of course, you're going to need to replenish yourself. And of course, you're going to need to, you know, have space in your schedule. But when you're in it, you're in it. You're in the zone. Okay, let me know in the comments what that is for you. What is your zone of genius, right? What is the thing that you absolutely love? What is the thing that makes you money or the potential of making you money? And what's the thing that you're in the flow, right? So one of the things I teach my clients is take your expertise based on the triangle of 3 and create a program. So position yourself based on who you are, right? So that's pretty easy. You're not trying to take it out and try to create some whole new personification, because that's very hard to keep on showing up as somebody that you're not, because it's just eventually you're going to just drain yourself. You won't be able to keep it up. It's just not possible, right? So there's that, right? And just, where was I going with this? Oh, yes, I had a client. This is what I want to talk about. I had a client, okay? So one of the things I was saying is that I help our clients, find their zone of genius, position themselves as an expert, and charge a premium for their expertise. So why? Because what I teach our clients is take what you know, distill it down into a program for your clients who are suffering from whatever it is that their pain points are, right? Some people, some of my coaches, they help people with binge eating. Some of my coaches help others that have suffered PTSD from being in the military. Some help their clients with branding. Some help their clients with understanding how to invest their money. Some help my clients because they have ADHD, right? And it's hard for them to function in the world that doesn't necessarily conform to their gifts. So take that, right? Distill it down and charge a premium, because what you're doing for your clients, if you know, right, that they're in a certain pain point and they need to get to, they're dying to get out of their debt or out of their confusion about how to market themselves, or out of, suffering from chronic anxiety or stress. And you, as the expert, based on your own clarity, based on your soul's calling, know how to give them the next obvious action. Remember I talked about that? The next obvious action. Because here's the thing, when somebody is suffering, they don't want to know you have all the credentials, and they don't want to fill out 1,000 PDFs, and they want to know, like, can you just tell me the next thing? Because right now I'm in a lot of pain, I'm suffering, and I have no idea. So most of my clients, they're like, I'm really good at what I do, and I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm burning out because I'm getting tired of not being able to have my bank account match my efforts. So please tell me what to do, because otherwise I am on the verge of quitting or on the verge of burnout. Okay? So here's the thing, right? And here's the thing you've probably heard me talk about a lot, right? Why the spiritual practice is so important is because it addresses the chronic emotions, and it addresses your core wounds. At the kind of, when we start to become devotionally dedicated to our spiritual practice, all of the layers that you thought were stopping you, like maybe you don't have enough experience, or maybe you don't have enough business strategy, the actual reason is because there is some kind of chronic emotion. So let me know in the comments what that is for you. There's some kind of chronic emotion that continues to reoccur every time you move towards what you want, where you want to go. Okay? This is just human. And guess what? When you're experiencing that, guess what that is a sign of? It's a sign that you're getting closer to what you want. And everybody misdiagnoses this as, oh my God, oh, I'm such an imposter. Oh my God, I'm not expert enough. Oh my God. And they go down this rabbit hole, and then they overwhelm their nervous system gets overwhelmed. And then they're not able to take action towards, oh, it's just that, just boop, go call your client. Charge a little bit more. Gain some clarity. Go outside and run. Like, there's a next obvious action that will give you the next most profitable action in your body, mind, soul, and in your business. Yeah. And so for you, what you guys want to start to figure out, right, is what is that in a progression, right? And for us, the very, very first thing we do, if you were to get on a discovery call, what I call a breakthrough yoga discovery call, is we will look at where in your body, mind, and energy has that block imprinted and coded in your body. Yeah. So, okay, I was gonna give you an example. I have a client named Joe, and he was developing his program, and so he's trying to develop his program, and he's like writing it down, and then he was like, oh my God, I don't think this is gonna work. And he's like, kind of like in that place where he's right, it's so close, but he's like, and then he was kind of freaking out. So I said, Joe, okay, so we talked about his zone of genius, which is writing, and he really likes to go for walks. And when he goes for a walk, all of a sudden he sits in a cafe and he writes, and then that's his zone of genius, right? That's when all the downloads from the ether come from his soul. And then also he does kung fu and he does yoga, so that's his spiritual practice. It kind of gets his body and his mind and his spirit in alignment. And I said, so what have you been doing this week? Have you gone for a walk? Have you done the writing? No. Because a lot of people think, okay, let me do everything else, and then I'm going to kind of do my zone of genius like at the end of my day. Okay? So that's a big mistake. Because now you're not leveraging your zone of genius. You're just trying to squeeze it in this small little hole of your day, and you're probably too tired to even. And then you mistake it thinking like, oh my God, I'm not cut out for this because I can't figure it out. Right? Of course you can't figure it out. If you're tired, of course your nervous system. I'm my zone of genius is yoga, but if you say, hey, let's do yoga like tomorrow at 3 a.m., yeah, I can kind of do it, but it won't be like, or like even 6 or 7 at night. It's not my, it's not the space where I'm most awake and alive. So I said, listen, his next obvious action. This week, what you're going to do is you're going to, first thing in the morning, or some people are midday, some people are night owls, but for him it was in the morning. I said, first thing in the morning, every day, you're going to go for a walk and you're going to go sit down and write. That's it. Next obvious action that is going to lead you to the most profitable thing in your business. That's it. Okay. And of course, the mind is almost like, that's just too simple, because the mind likes to sometimes overcomplicate things, or like stay in that stress mode, and it's like, right? So this is the energy leverage week. Just do that. If that's all you did, you have been working on your business. That's it. So guess what? He does it for a week. Come back. We get on a call, right? And all of these ideas come in for his program. It's like, oh yeah, I had this idea, and then I had this idea, and then I help him structure it, because sometimes when you're in the flow, you sometimes need somebody to kind of also sound back what you're saying. Because when you're in the flow, it's almost like this altered state or this dream state, and you don't always remember what you say. Yeah. So this is why it's fun to have a coach, because like, oh, what I hear and what I see, and they'll tell you the things that you sometimes say to block yourself, but they'll also, a good coach will tell you like, ooh, I love how you're so, confident in that place. Oh, I love how you're like, you literally, your body and your mind and your eyes are expanding in that place. Ooh, let's go there. That's the soul, right? And that's what I teach our clients. It's like, that's the soul. Okay, let's listen to that. So then all this clarity came, and then boom, program, outline done, right? But here's the thing. Your survival needs will always need to be met. Your survival, on an emotional level, what it does is, if we have survived criticism, abuse, not enough attention, right? Too much attention, not enough attention, abuse, physical, mentally, emotionally, it will form a protection mechanism, right, to help you survive the moment, right? So if for example, you're someone like me who is like, well, very loud and then, joyful, and, and then your parents like, shh, be quiet, just be quiet, or you don't cry, you're too sensitive, then you kind of like, you dim down. Right? Well, that was my protection mechanism. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to just dim down and be quiet and not say anything, right? And kind of hide, yeah? So that kept me alive. That kept me so that I'm not going to get kicked out by the tribe, which is in our most cases, the people who raised you, right? So for Joe, his doubt is always going to be encoded there, right? But guess what? Here's the difference. We think in the healing kind of thing is that we need to get rid of doubt. We need to like heal it away. We need to, right? But really, we need to bring that part, that unprocessed core wound, and the core wound is something that has happened that helped you survive, and basically now attaches to everything in your life. You see through that lens, through whatever you do in your relationships, right? In your work, in your relationship you have with yourself in the mirror, okay? And that's why Carolyn Mize was talking about, you're going to have all of these different relationships, these things that start to happen so you can see that mirror, yeah? And so here's the thing. It's not about getting rid of or fixing or healing. It's about bringing that part that adapted in the way that they adapted, but now that adaptation no longer serves, right? So if I'm going to always dim my light, that doesn't necessarily serve what it is I'm trying to do here on earth. Yes? So I have to kind of practice being in front of a crowd. I have to practice moving my body. I have to practice all of that stuff. And that's what, that's why we call it a practice, right? And practice It doesn't matter if I have 20, 30, 40 years of practice. If I didn't practice today, less likely that I'd be able to channel what I'm saying today through the soul versus the survival, right? Survival will be like, oh my God, I hope people are on. Oh my God, I hope they're listening. Oh my God, what if I forget? That's survival, right? Soul is like, okay, we got an outline. My phone almost died, and it's this kind of, the soul is like, I know where I'm going. So there's going to be things that happen, but I'm still very clear on where that is. And so we bring the part with us, right? And if you were to work with me, that's probably the thing that I think most business coaches leave out, is that ability to heal your core wounds and have your business be a tool, a journey of your own personal healing and growth. Because you can do the strategy. Don't get me wrong. You can do the strategy. You can do, but if our kind of place of not enough, the place I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not perfect, I don't belong, I am not significant, and I'm not capable, doesn't have a place at the table and is not able to work shoulder to shoulder with that part of you, your highest potential, your zone of genius, and we don't continuously bridge the gap from our survival to our soul, guess who is going to win every time? Our survival need, right? And the survival need, what does it do? It keeps us safe. It keeps us in the familiar, right? So if you're used to dimming your light, then the survival one's like, that's what we're going to do because that's how we're going to stay alive. Very useful, but not necessarily useful when we're trying to move towards our highest potential. Yeah? So we want to teach that part of us, and we want to give it what it needs physically, mentally, and energetically, while having your soul be in the driver's seat. Okay, let me know if any of this is making sense. I want to hear you. I want to hear any answers or any light bulbs that have gone off. Okay, so I am going to just recap what we talked about today. All right, so number one, what is the number one step when you're trying to up-level your business? What did we say? Write me in the comments. I know I can't see it, but write me in the comments. What did we say? Clarity, right? So why is your spiritual practice the foundation of your business? Because what does it bring you? Clarity. Because what does your spiritual practice give you insight to? It is the vision to your highest potential. The sound of your soul's voice, the feeling that your spirit is like, go there. Yes, that's what you want. Your whole body will tell you, right? And if we don't know how to bridge ourselves from survival to soul, then survival will it's the default, and it should be, right? Because if we were just soul and I would just like go out, then if I just cross the street and the car, we'd be like, wow, what a pretty car, and boom, our physical body would be gone. So survival is always going to be there first, yeah? But we need to address survival. So then that's what I was talking about. We need to bridge the gap between our survival to the soul. And then we need to learn that we're not trying to heal or fix away the thing that the survival need is addressing, right? And we don't want to just be in the soul creative mode. We kind of have to, on a practical, that's where the business comes in, on a practical level, learn how to practically, take care of our body, take care of our mortgage, take care of what it is that we want based on what we want, what we value, right? Who we are, right? And so the amount of money is based on that, okay? And when you're aligned with, your soul, then it's a natural byproduct, right? Abundance is a natural byproduct. Money is a natural byproduct, okay? And so we want to learn how to first of all, heal those core wounds, right? We also want to know what is our zone of genius, not our zone of excellence. And we want to stop misdiagnosing every time we don't understand a business strategy or we don't feel up to par or enough. We want to take that part of us with us along the journey. And then that part of us, it's like we're holding their hand and we're like, okay, it's like, going to the, something you've never done before. It's like, when you take your child to school and you're like, okay, they're scared, their heart is beating, but we've given them enough of their survival needs. They're well fed, they got the new shoes, they're dressed, they feel good, they got the new binder, they got the new backpack, whatever it is. And we're like, okay, go along. And they're going to go along and they're like, oh my God, right? So the fear of going towards what you want in your business is always going to be there. The doubt, whatever it is, the unworthiness, it's always going to be there, right? So we're going to need to take them along. And guess what? It's one part fear and the rest is in that place of curiosity, joy. Like, oh my God, what is over there? So here it is, your child walking to school, like, oh, right? And then they start to discover what their soul, what lights them up. And that's the zone of genius, right? And so it's this practice of being with, right, your doubt, your fear, and letting in, right, what excites you, what you're just so good at, what keeps you in the flow, and expand there, right? So it's not like, when we're trying to do something in our life, change something in our life, it's not necessarily stop doing that. It's just do more of what you love. And eventually it will be natural that the stuff that kind of kept you stuck is going to come less. Yeah? And that's why the spiritual practice is so important, because you are going to choose based on what you love physically, based on what you love, what clears your mind. Is it listening to music? Is it prayer? What is it for you? Is it meditation? Is it singing? What is it? Is it going to the choir at the church? What is it? Right? And then energy. How are you going to leverage your energy? And there's a couple of parts here, and I have a whole training on this, but just like the pain that we experience, the fear that we experience is viable energy. So energy mastery, week number 4, we need to learn how to take that pain and utilize it as life force energy. And take that and just drop it into where we want to go, the next, and that's what I talked about, the next obvious action. So if you were to work with me, that's what I would give you. Just let me give you the next obvious action. Because whenever you're going towards your life dream, it's guaranteed that the SHIT is going to hit the fan. There's going to be a freak out. There's going to be an overwhelm. There's going to be like, oh my God, I can't do this. Right? So a good coach is just not going to overwhelm you with, oh my God, all the things you can't do and all the things you should do and all the 10 million trillion steps that it's just like, whew, here's what you need to do spiritually. Clear your mind, body, and energy. And here's what your nervous system, once your nervous system is neutral, here's the next obvious action that's going to create most profitability in your business. So that's the funny thing in what I teach our clients. It's like you already have the assets, guys. And this is what I'm trying to say to everybody. Your spiritual practice is your biggest asset because you've always known who you are. You always know what you know your own personal journey. You know what you love. You know your clients. You know your professional training. Yeah, right? So it's your biggest asset because now you can utilize it, right? And so, once I kind of gain the clarity and we start to figure out what's your life altering transformation, we start to figure out your dreamiest clients, we start to distill your program, we start to learn how to move through, even though you're scared as F, to take shoulder to shoulder that part of you and then move towards your soul, right? Your soul's calling. We start to take it all, yeah? And then that's it. It's like, that's the formula. That's the formula, right? We start to do all that, right? right? And then what starts to happen is it builds momentum. Yeah. So the assets that you have, what it starts to do is it builds momentum, but it also, what it does is it gives you that trust in yourself. Because if we can't listen to ourselves, then who the heck are we gonna, like, who? That's the truth, right? I can't tell you your truth. I can lead you the way and the path to the truth, but I can't tell you what your truth is, right? And as an entrepreneur, we're always going to be doing things that we kind of don't really know what we're doing. So we kind of have to have a leader, and that leader is going to be the person that tells you the truth, which is you, right? From the soul. Yeah. So that's why your spiritual practice is your biggest asset. Is this making sense, guys? Is this making sense? Let me know if there's anything. What's your biggest takeaway? If you have any questions, write them in the comments. I want to hear them. I want to leave you with a last comment here. A last quote. I'm into the quotes today, okay, guys? Okay. So what is it? Two quotes. Rudolf Steiner believes that we have a pre-birth destiny. So as we come here on earth, our pre-birth destiny. We're here to, the destiny or the purpose births us. The other thing I really like, Joseph Campbell says, the big question is if you're going to say a hearty yes to your adventure. And that's what I want to really teach you guys. How can we get out of that survival, like, oh my God, I'm not good enough, to the hearty yes, full body, mind, energy yes, to where we want to go, to the dream that we know we've always known. Yeah. And if we need to gain clarity in that, we will. Yeah. So if any of this resonates with you, I do what's called a yoga discovery call. And on that call, I help you understand where we're blocked. And everyone in their life, wherever they are, no matter what age they are, they're going to have these moments where they're going towards what they want. And then, there's going to be moments where they're going to need their own spiritual practice. They're going to need some guidance to move them towards the next step. So I help you see where that is imprinted in the body, where it is imprinted in the mind and imprinted in your energy. I call it the 3-level clearing. That's the very first thing we do. Even just that in itself creates leaps and bounds and shifts for everybody who gets on the call. Oh, I love this. I'm starting to see comments. It's so funny. You see it at the end of, Okay, so Lola says, clarity. Spiritual practice gives you the vision of your life's potential. Heal core wounds, zone of genius, energy. Oh, I love this. Okay, so thank you for giving that outline. So on the call, basically, I help you. We are going to look together at what it is you want based on your values, based on what you want, based on who you are. Okay, and what's blocking you from that, right? And not just from an intellectual way, because I can give you all the strategy literally now. Okay, and you can be like, yeah, okay, that's cool, and then you go implement it and you're like, right? So we look at that, and you set what it does. I send you an application, you write it in. I'm going to look at it, I'm going to read it very, with intention and attention, and I'm going to really see, like, well, what is it, right? So if you're interested in shifting out of being stuck, shifting out of kind of maybe your zone of excellence, shifting out of being overworked, underpaid, or being continuously overwhelmed by doubt or whatever it is, then DM me and say, Jamie, I'm ready for Breakthrough Yoga Coaching Call. And on that call, we are going to do the deep work required so that you can continue to take action towards your soul and your next most profitable action in your business. So that is it for me. Lola says, big thank you for all the golden nuggets. Predestiny. I want to get out of this fear mode, and yes, full body, mind, soul. Yay. Okay, so now you've testified to what you want. Okay, and that's the beginning, right? It's the beginning of like, And then the work comes like, okay, I'm going to actually go do that. Ooh, okay. And if you want somebody to walk with you shoulder to shoulder and keep you accountable, because here's the thing, when you're doing your soul's work, it ain't like what people always say, it ain't for the faint of heart, right? And you need your tribe, your support system. Whether that's me or whether that's somebody else, you need people to, shoulder to shoulder with you. This world is not made up of one person. It's made up of many humans. And we all have our gifts. And we together, right, we can empower each other, right? So if you want somebody to help you and keep you accountable and shoulder to shoulder with you when the SHT hits the fan, then DM me and let me know you're ready for a breakthrough yoga coaching call. My assistant Katie will put the link in the comments. So thank you so much, guys. Sorry for the little moment where I started losing power. That was weird. But I thank you so much. And I will see you next week, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. DM me again if you are ready for a breakthrough yoga coaching call. And I will be there. Ready. Bye, guys.